Hey guys, it's Felicia. I am still somewhere in the world, vacationing, luxuriating, just living my best life right now, trying to get my life together, y'all. And while I take this much needed respite, I have something fabulous for you. You don't want to miss this. Attorney Anitra is back with legal therapy. Attorney Anitra, take it away. Welcome back. This is Attorney Anitra, and this is session, 6 of legal therapy. Clarify you before you qualify them. We have been breaking down the acronym of Clarify. That's CLARIFY. I truly believe that these are sessions that allow you to dig a little deeper, pull back some layers to who you are, and get you thinking in a very focused way about how you present yourself in relationships, mainly relationships at work. But I found that my whole life got better once I started to clarify myself. We have covered context for C, legacy for L, asset for A, rest for R, and impact for I. In this session, we're going to cover frame. That's the F in Clarify. How you frame your life and how you show up means everything. What we're going to do is we're actually going to tie what we've done so far together, because our last letter doesn't really work until we have a good handle on what's come before. So, I want you guys to understand a truth that you just can't shake. How you view yourself is exactly how you are going to show up in the world. Like, there's no way to get you to act differently, to talk differently, without you changing your mind about who you are. Whoever you think you are, that is who you are. And that's incredibly life-changing. We're going to talk about how you can get your frame, how you look at life, to reflect who you want. A lot of the times my clients come to me and they're struggling with this idea that my rights have been violated. There's something I can do about it, but am I the person who's going to do something about it? First thing I just want to say, picking up the phone, going on my webpage and filling out that form to work with me is a huge step in saying, I want to be the kind of person who stands up for him or herself. So I commend you for that. But when I talk to potential clients and even clients who sign on to work with me, and as we're traversing this journey together, I find that the times when I'm really wrestling with them to get them to either sign or to really commit to the strategy that I've come up with for their case. Each strategy is customized. That resistance is there. And so I want to talk about how we begin to put Clarify together, which may seem like random nuggets of wisdom. But when you use them together, I believe it does paint a picture of your identity that you're willing to accept, or at least I hope so. Because how you frame yourself, how you frame your outlook on life, that's going to determine how you show up and if you even stand up for yourself when the time comes for you to do that. So, we've already talked all about my business, so let's go ahead and recap it. So when we look back at the C, for me, context, my context was that I came from a family that was rocked by tragedy with the death of my grandmother, the murder of my grandmother before I was born. Eventually, my parents would split up, and I would grow up the middle of 5 children, feeling very much so looked over and lost in the shuffle a lot of the times. My response to that was to be a people pleaser, to be a performer, to try to do everything right So number one, I wouldn't be a burden. And number two, I could get the applause, the attention, the affirmation that was missing since I was no longer right underneath my daddy all the time. So I was a daddy's girl. These have led to present day triggers for me. Triggers of needing to throw myself completely into every situation and be the solution for everybody. On one hand, it's part of my personality. I am very comprehensive and I care deeply about people. But when that was distorted, when it comes from an unhealthy place, I can easily invest too much, overcommit, and quite frankly, be controlling in my people pleasing. Because I don't want to give you a chance to not like me. When I look at my legacy, however, that's the L in clarify. When I look at my legacy, I want to be known as a very fierce lover, but also a very fierce fighter for those whom I love. And so you can see the stark contrast between my context and my legacy that I want, that this people-pleasing thing isn't really going to get me where I want to go. If I want people to know I genuinely love them, I have to give them an opportunity to reject me. And if I want to be known as a fighter, I can't keep biting my tongue and not standing up for myself just so that I can have a place to fit in. Then, when I analyze the A, asset, I can look at myself and say, wow, my inner child has been aching and she doesn't want to be this people pleaser. She loves the performing arts because she's a creative, she's an artist. And if I want to love myself, I need to allow myself that space to be creative, that space to be innovative. That's when I'm most energized. I'm most energized, I'm most in flow when I've just cut my hair, so I'm not fussing over the way that I look. But it's edgy enough, it's stylish enough where I can still express my creativity through how I look. But my looks are no longer the central focus of who I am. That was fluff, that was fake. But where I'm truly valuable is when I'm allowed to be my creative, expressive self, my nurturing self, but myself that is kind of rebellious and defiant, especially when it comes to things that I believe are wrong. I will stand up to them. Now that's more aligned with my legacy. So as I'm grappling with who I am and I need to make decisions, I need to rest. As I rest, I can breathe. I can stop. I can see if I need to quiet quit anything. Am I doing too much anywhere? Do I need to pull back? Am I rushing to save everybody? And I can also see what is filling me with anxiety, if anything. And if I can identify something that's making me anxious, the fact that I just went through a divorce myself. I'm repeating patterns that came from my family. I no longer have a place to belong. The danger of me dying alone and not having a family, that's huge. I'm not sure if I have the resources to cope with that. And I can take a look around and I can see if that's true. That's what rest allowed me to do for that year. So then I go to impact.
Damn. Yeah.
Okay. I'm okay. I'm alive. I'm grateful. I've rested. I've caught my breath. I'm acknowledging that I'm still somebody of power. I am a woman who is powerful. Even though that there are these forces out here in the world that are making me feel very vulnerable, very unsafe. It's been my life experience that I can still have an impact. My presence still creates an effect on other people. Even though I feel lost, I am not lost. Even though I feel untethered, I'm still very much so connected to other people. When I show up, things happen. What are those things? For me, I was still, even in dealing with a depression and getting out of bed only when I had to, I could still show up to community events and be a difference maker. I could still finally answer the call of a friend to be her campaign manager as she campaigned to become a district court judge. And I can stand out and help her gather votes. And I can be there as she's sworn in as one of our county's youngest Black female judges to ever serve on a bench. Because I have power. And that's why we have to focus on the F and clarify, which is frame. A frame could be, it is, the wooden thing that holds a picture. And it's a good visual. Because if you are the picture, how you view yourself, your thought about yourself as that frame, is supposed to hold you as you present it to the world. It allows you to be presented into the world the way that you want to be presented. Another definition that I believe is really important for frame is it's a constitution. It's a system. It's something you can go back to time and time again as your North Star for your life. Hopefully, by doing all the work through CLARI, by the time you get to frame, hopefully you begin to make decisions about who you will be, who you are, and all the incongruencies get called out and confronted. I was talking to my homeopathic doctor, and she's not kidding when she says she takes a holistic approach. Okay, she dove right into my context, all in my business, okay? And what's so great was that I had gone through Clarify for myself, so even though I was caught off guard, I was still ready. Yeah, let's go there. Let's go there. And she listened to my story and she pointed out, like, yeah, this whole compliant nature might not be natural for you. So me being a people pleaser is actually not a natural response to who, like, I genuinely am. I'm actually a bit bold. Very bold. Now, who am I kidding? I'm very bold. You get me into a situation where I'm dealing with opposing counsel and I know I've backed them into a corner. I am going in for the kill. I'm tactful, but I am merciless. I want to be the John Wick of employment attorneys. Yes, I either like to watch Disney movies or assassin movies. Like, that is my personality. I am super sweet, and I also have lethal weapons available to me, and I know how to use them. Okay, so, but that's who I am, then I need to make a decision. And that's where framing, having your constitution is so important. We're actually writing a constitution for our marriage, my husband and I, because it's not a prenup. It's more powerful than a prenup because we're communicating to one another our expectations, not just of ourselves and each other, but how we operate together. And you can do that for yourself as well. You can write a constitution for yourself on how you expect yourself to show up in this world. This works. Don't just take my word for it. It's science. When we come back, we're going to talk about the science behind framing. You don't want to miss that.
Hey guys, I have to tell you, I just finished watching Attorney Anitra's masterclass, and when I tell you I'm mad that I didn't know this stuff years ago, like game changer. Like, we're talking about how to document. We're talking about how the process of thinking through how to fight for your rights in the workplace. When I tell you, she breaks this down so well and gives you the framework and then tells you what you need to do to protect yourself and get your coins. When I tell you, for me, this is a game changer. And I am definitely going to be incorporating these principles and practices into how I coach people, especially people who are in a sticky situation. I mean, we're talking PIPs, we're talking can't get promoted, and this new term, quiet firing. Oh my God, how many of y'all know people who are being actively pushed out of their organizations, but on the low? So like, they're taking projects away from you. They're, murmurs about you. Like, people stop talking to you. They stop responding to your emails. When I tell you Attorney Anitra has the plan and the blueprint, this is it. So if you have not signed up for this masterclass, what are you waiting for? Like, get in there, get this knowledge, and then get your best possible outcome at work, which means get your money, okay? And don't let work you. You work. So boss up, get this information. The link to the masterclass is in the bio. It is worth every investment and time. And it's not long. It's short information, but it's to the point. And I'm telling you, do not wait. Go sign up for this masterclass. Take this masterclass right now. The link is in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the show.
Welcome back. We are continuing the conversation about your frame, your constitution, your system of how you see yourself and how you govern yourself on a day-to-day basis. I told you that there was science behind this idea that if you make a decision about who you are and that becomes your self-image, that is how you will be. However you think you are, that is how you are. And that is how you are going to show up in the world. It's science. I remember being part of a business coaching program, and these guys were just going on and on about this book, Psycho-Cybernetics. And they were so excited about this book by Malcolm Maltz that they sent everybody a copy, a hard copy of this book in the mail. And I got this book in the mail and I was like, I don't want to read another thing about internet marketing. Okay, bye. Miss me with that one. So I stuck it in my bookcase and all but forgot about it. About a year ago, I'm not exactly sure what prompted me, but I was really disturbed by some of the struggles I was going through. Like, I felt myself changing. I couldn't necessarily pinpoint what this new identity exactly was, but I knew I wasn't the person who had gone through that marriage. I was in the process of dying to that and dying to myself and being born anew. But who was I? And I don't know what made me pick up this book out my bookcase, but I picked it up and I decided to read the flap. I decided to read the description of the book. And you guys, this book has absolutely nothing to do with internet marketing. Like, this is a book written by, may he rest in peace, he's no longer with us, Dr. Maltz. So the author was a plastic surgeon, and he noticed a very interesting phenomenon in his practice. He could have a patient with, let's say, a facial deformity, and he could fix that patient's face. Flawless. The patient, who was at one time very self-conscious about the deformity, would see themselves, especially after they were all healed up, and just be so relieved. Their confidence restored. They are now interacting with everybody back in society. It was like it never happened. But then he also noticed there was a group of people who would go through a similar process, oftentimes a mild deformity. And when he spoke to them after recovery, they were just as unhappy, just as self-conscious as they were before they had the issue fixed. And he couldn't understand how, if you've had such a huge improvement, or not huge, depending on the patient, Why are you not feeling better about yourself? And this is what led him to begin studying basically neuroscience. And this is what he found out. He found out that our brains are literally wired to create a vision of reality and live it out. In other words, you cannot act out, live out anything outside of your own self-image. How you view yourself is how you will literally act every single day. So what was happening to his patients who had the facial deformity fixed but were still self-conscious, their self-image was of somebody who was still damaged, still ugly, still unworthy. Therefore, no amount of surgery was going to fix them because it was something that was going on the inside. He studied this phenomenon in a lot of people, and he made some discoveries that there are people who, for instance, were injured and couldn't practice physically for their sport, but went through mental exercises where they visualized every step of how they practice. Once they were released to play, they were on the top of their game because he realized that our brains don't know the difference. Our minds don't know the difference between what we see inside of our mind's eye and what's reality. This goes back to your framing, your constitution. I had to make a determination of how I was going to show up as my identity was in flux. I had to make decisions about my self-image. And I would be lying if I told you that that was a smooth process. There was a part of me that really struggled, really up until recently, with this whole glamorous look I thought I wanted. I mean, I like the big curly weave. You know what I mean? I wanted to drop down to I'm not going to even tell you what size I wanted to drop down to. But let's say I'm not in college anymore and I don't need to be that small. Because in my mind and my self-image, if that was me in my heyday, that's who I needed to be today. I had to redefine that. Because when I woke up in my almost 40-year-old body, I was consistently unhappy or engaging in unhealthy habits. I remember doing a challenge, the 75 hard challenge. That stuff is crazy and unsustainable. More power to you if you want to do it. Basically, it's like you have all these challenges you need to do, working out twice a day, what else has to be outside, drinking a gallon of water every day, picking a diet and sticking to it, reading a certain amount of pages every day. It has you do this. And you have to do it for 75 days in a row. And if you miss a day, you start over. And yeah, I look great, but I was hungry, man. I was so hungry. When I'm working out that much, my body, my metabolism is fast. I'm grateful. Thank you, Lord. But yikes, girl gotta work. She practicing laws. She got things to do. She, you can only eat so many kind bars in one day. I was hungry. It's not fair. Anyway, I had some decisions to make. I needed to focus. I needed to frame my self-image. So when I began to say, I'm going to love myself and not do these crazy challenges, I want a sustainable life, that's when I started to turn the corner. And this idea is also supported by other books and authors who have just really been able to turn their lives around, like James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. His thing was, you can't just jump in and start changing your habits. It's really about the process, the system behind your habits. And even behind the system is really your identity. If you believe you're the type of person to eat healthy every day because that's what you want to teach your children, then you will begin to walk in that. That becomes your self-image because your mind doesn't know the difference between what it sees in its mind, in your mind, and real life. So you will walk that out in real life. I remember taking some rest this year and writing down my identities. This is who I am. That was one of the things I wrote down. I want to have, I have 2 children now. I share them with a wonderful man and their biological mother. I'm grateful for both of them. But as their stepmother, I want to be a good example of what it means to eat in a very healthy way. And so that got me on the track of not doing 75 hard challenges, but making some real sustainable changes so I can pass on those good habits to them. Their dad already does a great job, but I also wanted to be somebody who reinforced that. So that's just one example of just being really clear on your identity. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some very practical steps that you can take to clarify, to frame your identity. Okay, welcome back. I just want you to be very open to putting on paper what your constitution is about, who you are, what you stand for, what your self-image is. You know, I've seen clients go from really hurt and beat down and feeling like they could never stand up to corporations to now these people are referring people to me. They are encouraging people to stand up for themselves. For my clients who are in settlement agreements, they're real creative with it. They don't talk about the settlement agreement, but they have a lot of wisdom about how to navigate these kind of issues. And it's remarkable for me. It's why I keep coming back and doing this work every single day to see those kind of transformations for my clients. I've heard clients, after we finish a deal, I heard that they are chilling in their beds with their cats, watching Netflix. They have gone on to bigger and better opportunities. They have started careers that they've always wanted to have. They found employment at a higher quality company with better pay. They're able to do things for their children that they've always wanted to do. It's not because I got them some change. It helped. But what really happened is that their self-image changed. They all of a sudden saw themselves as someone who could go up against a corporate giant and win. They saw themselves as somebody who could converse and strategize side by side with an attorney and go back into the workplace, a place that used to fill them with anxiety, and they could walk confidently through the halls. That's who I want you to document. That's who I want you to write the Constitution for. That version of yourself. The Constitution, your frame, should include your backstory, your context. I finished my master's degree recently in Hebrew language, Hebrew Bible, because I'm a nerd. Leave me alone, okay? I have a gift with words and seeing connections, and so I like languages. I already told you this. Leave me alone. And what was so interesting was comparing these old constitutions made between ancient Semitic, ancient Near East cultures, right? So you could see like what happens when they decide to, become allies. And these constitutions always included kind of like a backstory to how these two territories came into relationship with each other. So an important part of your Constitution should include, hey, this is how I got here. This is my context. See, I set you up. Then go ahead and launch into legacy. You see where I'm going with this? Your Constitution should really lay out, clarify. It should lay out, clarify. So go through your legacy. Go through how you're an asset. Then talk about rest. What does it mean to be restored? What are some promises you are going to make yourself to be healthy? And what is your impact? What is it that you bring to the table? How do you affect other people? And this is all going inside of your framing, so you are crystal clear on who you are. There's one element we have to add. It's my favorite one, and it's yearnings for why. This is when we just talk about what you want. So I will talk to you in our last, final session and clarify why. Until then, this is Attorney Anitra, Legal Therapy. Clarify you before you qualify them. Be well.